Good morning. How are you today? Well, I'm in Baltimore, Maryland, and I thought I'd take a walk and only do my walk and talk when I was by the water. But between the hotel and the water, there are, well, high industrial buildings, cemetery, metal reworking, kind of nice neighborhood, and then the industrialization all around the harbor. You can hardly go a few feet without a do not trespass sign. And the water is a dark, dirty gray, and no doubt the oil and fuel that's around here, a fair amount of it ends up in the water, and that's not good at all. The meetings that we're having today are all online, so I get out before we do all of those. What strikes me is going on in the Capitol is that we don't seem to learn very much. We don't seem to know what is our right side. And what do I mean by that? I put on Twitter an article by the New York Times, and what it did was it was lamenting the sorry fate of Rosanne Boyland, who on January the 6th charged the Hill and was literally crushed to death trying to lay siege to the Congress, to overthrow the government, and to defeat our line of succession by hanging the vice president and kidnapping the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. And the Times goes on, I don't know, commiserating with her situation like somehow or other some other person demonized her and made her do this. I was very surprised by the Times. I'd like to think that, some flack convinced them that this was an interesting story to run, the counter story of a person who was involved and we should be sympathetic toward. I have no sympathy. Consider the act. She knew what she was doing. This is kind of a post-death, defense, at sentencing. I don't wish she died, but I think she deserved it. I mean, for putting herself at risk like that. And I know that's harsh, and I'm pretty empathetic. But I think of the families that were scared. I think of those who died. I think of those who were put at threat. And I think of a democracy that was endangered by her act. So I don't have any sympathy. So I thought I'd pass that on. But the bigger message is, what is our media doing? Why are we talking about things like this? Why isn't this a one-way street, a diode with the affection directed toward preserving our democracy, toward talking about the heroes that made possible the survival of our government when these people, including senators, were prepared to persist to declare the election unconstitutional? And in the same vein, we can't overlook the fact that we have another disclosure about Trump leaning on the new AG, Rosen, when appointed, to go out and perpetuate Trump's lies that there was fraud in the election when there was none demonstrated, none proven. Also, we have the delay is under discussion in which our military resources could have acted and done something about this uproar, this insurrection, but the information was held back and the opportunity to act was held back. And so as a result, our government was put in peril. And to this day, those who must have been involved, sort of a consciousness of guilt test, are still pushing the lie and still pushing it about the election, and have the most sorry agenda, legal and otherwise, that they propose. Finally, side note, because I think she's a wonderful lady. I'm for Maya for mayor in New York City. But at the other end of the spectrum, I have somebody I'm very much against, Tali Weinstein. She has now been found to have devoted $8.2 million, supposedly of her own money, to the campaign. Really? Her own money? Now, We have since found out she wasn't a registered Democrat in 2017. We find out that she asked Trump for a judgeship, and her husband was associated with the Deutsche Bank, which is a close associate of the Trumps. Are those connections meaningful? I don't know. But I heard that she wasn't sure what she would do with the Trump prosecution if Vance had brought one forward, or I guess to start one herself. And she didn't want to touch it. And that sends to me very bad signals. So anyone else who would prosecute Trump and has some of the basic equipment to carry it off, that's who our next DA should be. And we should hope Vance gets his act together in the next few months. So I'll talk to you tomorrow. Maybe I'll be in the green by then. Bye-bye.